All right, friends, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Whisperer, the podcast where we cut through the buzzwords, whisper the uncomfortable truths, and try to keep everyone from lighting their hair on fire before lunch. You know, it's right now, it's January 2026, it's Snowmageddon, and somehow we're already speed running the worst ideas of the year leaderboard. This week we're talking about firewalls getting popped again, AI agents behaving like unpaid interns with admin access, supply chains that look more like supply traps, why CFOs and CISOs still can't agree on math, and why attackers have discovered that compliance fear is better than ransomware fear. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. Let's start with everyone's favorite topic, Fortinet firewalls and patching regret. Now, Fortinet, they patched a vulnerability in December. Turns out, just kidding, not really. Attackers figured out how to bypass FortiCloud SSO, craft malicious SAML messages, create their own admin accounts, exfil configs, and give themselves VPN access, all in seconds. Same CVE, same playbook, but a different firmware. And Fortinet's advice is basically, just disable SSO. Cool, love that, very confidence inspiring. And before anyone feels smug, this is not a Fortinet-only problem. This is a patch the symptom, not the design problem. I mean, attackers aren't hacking your firewall, they're logging into it. So here's what you need to do. Stop trusting patched as a risk state. Verify, again, if it's exploitable. We always talk about prioritizing your patches. Is there an exploit in the wild? Not version numbers. Disable cloud-based SSO on perimeter gear unless you just absolutely need it for your admins. Monitor for new local admin creation and not just failed logins. Treat your firewall configs like crown jewels. And make sure you have some sort of monitoring to detect if you've got exfil on them, not just changes. And please, if your firewall can talk to the internet like it's a SaaS app, treat it like one. Well, next up, your software supply chain is on fire. Look, we've got domain resurrection attacks, hijacking Snap Store packages, malicious Chrome extensions that are stealing session cookies from not one, but Workday, NetSuite, and SuccessFactors. We've got third-party OAuth tokens acting like skeleton keys, and attackers realizing they don't need malware, they just need your browser. And so, look, here's the new reality. If it runs in your browser, it's production infrastructure now. The Chrome extension story is brutal. Polished UI, normal permissions, silently exfiltrating session tokens every 60 seconds and blocking admins from the ability to even fix it. That's not phishing, that's identity theft with a UI UX team. And so again, if you're a cyber professional in these areas, you're on the infrastructure side, you should have strict browser extension allow listing. And yes, people are going to complain. Monitor session token abuse, not just credentials. You need to re-audit OAuth scopes like their firewall rules. Consider enterprise browsers or isolation for those apps that are high risk. And treat productivity plugins as untrusted code. Because if your control relies on MFA but it ignores session hijacking, attackers will thank you. Let's talk about AI agents because apparently we gave them keys before supervision. I mean, we've got Anthropic Cowork that's shipping with a known file exfiltration vuln. We've got Vertex AI service agents allowing privilege escalation working as intended. AI agents involved in 40% of insider threats. And non-human identities outnumbering humans 144 to 1. Again, that's not innovation. That's an identity crisis with GPUs. So here's the scary part. When an AI agent goes rogue, it doesn't look malicious. It looks like the platform's just doing its job, and that's the whole problem. And so if you've got this, look, you need to make sure you're inventorying every non-human identity. Agents, service accounts, bots. You need to treat those service agents just like privileged employees, because they are. Log and alert on agent behavior, not just your API calls. Implement just-in-time access for those agents, funny, just like you would for the privileged users with the PAM. Assume prompt injection is inevitable, and so architect accordingly. Because remember, AI doesn't eliminate risk, it just scales it faster than your sock can drink coffee. Well, now for the CVE world having its existential crisis. NIST is openly admitting what we all know. They can't enrich every vulnerability anymore. So they're shifting responsibility to CNAs, prioritizing the KEV listed vulnerabilities, and basically saying all CVEs are not equal. Well, correct. We've been pretending they were for years, and the real takeaway is, look, stop outsourcing prioritization to a database. Instead, Build a context-aware vulnerability prioritization system. Again, we talked about this at the beginning, looking at exploitability plus exposure. If you've got a critical, 0-day on a system that can't reach the internet, you can prioritize that as a little lower. Still needs to be patched because an internal system can certainly be popped in and got to that system. But you need to prioritize that. You can't patch everything all the time. You just need to prioritize it. You need to anchor patching to KEV, to the KEV, business criticality and reachability. Use multiple intel sources, not just CVSS, and accept that no enrichment does not equal no risk. Because CVE lists are ingredients you still have to cook. Well, now let's address the eternal tension. CFOs want numbers, CISOs bring heat maps, and everyone leaves frustrated. So according to Expel, 40% of CFOs say they'd spend more if risk reduction was quantified, which means that's partially on us. If you're in a CISO or a security leader in some of these areas and you're working on budget, you need to make sure you translate controls into loss avoidance, downtime reduction, and insurance impact. Tie spend to resilience, not fear. We've said that over and over. Don't use fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It doesn't work. Use before and after risk scenarios, not necessarily these are the features this tool has. And stop saying best practice. Instead, start saying business outcome. Because boards don't hate security, but they hate unclear math. Well, final stop is ransomware groups. They've now discovered something better than encryption, and that's compliance fear. They're scanning stolen data for GDPR, DORA, SEC violations, and threatening to report victims. That's not hacking, that's weaponized governance. And AI makes it faster than your internal audit team can dream. And so look, you need to make sure that you assume stolen data will be analyzed by attackers. Pre-map regulatory exposure scenarios for that data. Practice self-report decision trees before you have an incident. Align your legal, incident response, privacy, and executive teams now. And if you're scrambling during the breach, look, the attacker's already won. So what's the theme this week? Well, it's not AI. It's not 0 days. It's not even ransomware. It's trust without verification in vendors, platforms, agents, browsers, patches, and assumptions we made 5 years ago. 2026 is shaping up to be the year we finally admit that managed does not equal secure, patched does not equal safe, AI certainly doesn't equal mature, and compliance does not equal boring anymore. If you want to survive this year, focus less on the shiny tools, as we always say, and more on the basics, the fundamentals, visibility, and business alignment. Well, that's the Whisper. I'm Elliot. This is Cybersecurity Whisperer, and I'll see you next time before another working as intended incident drops. Take care.